Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. Powered by Soy Biodiesel, we'll head on Friday to the Mercer Landmark Agro Expo year number 4. It'll be at the Laddie Agronomy Facility in Paulding. You can learn more by visiting agroexpo.com. And also Monday, we'll head northeast to the Wayne County Fair. Get you an update from the Wayne County Fair. It runs September 6th through the 11th. Visit WayneCountyFairOhio.com for a full schedule. Today's Ohio Crop Progress Report is sponsored by Unleaded 88. Save on fuel with the blue handle. Fill up with Unleaded 88. Discover more at ohiocornandwheat.org. In Ohio, major reductions in topsoil and subsoil moisture is coinciding with Ohio's crops speeding to maturity. In numbers from the latest Crop Progress Report, looks like 51% of Ohio corn is dented, 3 points ahead of the 5-year average. 7% of the corn is mature, while 11% of the soybeans are dropping leaves. Looking at topsoil moisture, Ohio's topsoil is 16% very short, 45% short, 16% adequate, and none, 0, is in the surplus category. As we look to the national numbers, corn in the dough stage was estimated at 90%, 1 percentage point ahead of last year, but 1 percentage point behind the 5-year average. Corn dented was estimated at 58%, equal to last year's pace, but 2 points behind the 5-year average. Corn mature was pegged at 15%, 3 points behind last year, but 1 percentage point ahead of the 5-year average. NAS estimating that 69% of the crop was in good to excellent condition nationwide, down 2 points from the previous week. 9% of the crop was rated very poor to poor, up 1 point from the previous week, but 3 points below last year. Soybean setting pods were estimated at 94%, 1 point ahead of last year, and equal to the 5-year average. Soybeans dropping leaves were pegged at 11%, 1 point behind last year, and 1 point ahead of the 5-year average. NAS estimating 65% of soybeans are in good to excellent condition, down 4 points from the previous week, and equal to last year. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Another warm, dry day today, but our pattern is changing a little bit starting tomorrow. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with that Ohio Ag Weather Update. Your Wednesday, mostly sunny, warm, a little bit more humid. Southwest flow dominating here today, but off to the northwest, there is a frontal boundary that's working towards us. It'll be increasing clouds in northwest Ohio as we approach sunset. The front then moves across the rest of the state through the overnight, after midnight, right on through probably mid-morning tomorrow, well, midday tomorrow. We are going to be seeing rains out of that, anywhere from 1/10 to 3/4 of an inch, with 80 to 90% coverage across the Buckeye State. Chilling down and clearing off a bit for the overnight tomorrow night into early Friday morning. And then we've got another area of low pressure that sweeps through the Great Lakes region, bringing clouds and scattered showers. I think it throws a few clouds into Ohio, but for the most part, Friday turns out partly sunny. Clouds increase overnight Friday night into early Saturday as another round of moisture comes up from the southwest. Moving through Ohio, we end up with about 75% coverage. Only the northwest quadrant gets missed, and we can see anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch out of that. Nice batch of moisture. It's done by early to mid-afternoon Saturday. Sunshine comes back. Sunday turns out partly sunny and cool. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week look pretty nice as well, with a good deal of sunshine and pleasant weather conditions. Clouds increasing Wednesday, Thursday, with scattered showers developing in those clouds, and that gives us a slightly damp finish to the week, although coverage at this point only is going to be about 40 to 50% of the state. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. We heard from Mike Steenhoek talking about the river water on Monday. Let's check in with him now as he talks about tariffs. Joining me is Mike Steenhoek, Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition. Mike, thanks for joining us again. Let's talk a little bit about tariffs. What's the soy transportation's focus as they look at tariffs and how it'll affect producers?
Something that's a real concern for us. And, the fact that here we are in early September where we do not have any announced sales of new crop soybeans to China, which is by far our number one international customer. And just to put it into context, last year, China purchased $13.2 billion worth of U.S. soybeans. Our number two international customer is Mexico at $2.4 billion. So a seismic disparity between our number one customer and our number two customer. So when you hear people talk about the need to diversify your customers, first of all, the soybean industry has been working diligently in that regard for many years with a lot of success. We send U.S. soybeans all throughout the world, but it also is important to keep in mind just the significance of that Chinese market. It's a real concern for us moving forward. And obviously, when you also have some potential supply chain challenges, that kind of adds insult to injury, because when you've got some stress confronting your industry with low international sales, low exports, you want your supply chain to help facilitate profitability and not be a further drain or an impediment on profitability. So all the more reason to really double down on making sure our infrastructure and our supply chain is operating at full throttle. But it is a real concern for us that we have just anemic amount of sales, right now no sales to China. It's something that we're really making the case to our elected officials to really do all they can to make sure that that market gets reopened for U.S. soybean farmers.
Mike, I like the way you introduced that in no announced sales. How big of a customer is this unknown category?
Yeah, I mean, you have certainly other countries that purchase may not be as public in announcing it, but the message that we're getting is that China importers are instructed to continue to source their needs from South America, and you're seeing that buying pattern as a result of that. And so we don't have any plans on the books as an industry to send any soybeans to China, which is very rare. Usually you're seeing a substantial amount already announced going to China. At the end of the day, will China still need to purchase some U.S. soybeans to really meet their needs? That remains to be seen. With each passing day, you run the risk of missing your key export window. 80% of U.S. soybean exports occur between the months of September and February, with the real key months being October, November, December. Even if you get some kind of resolution to the feud between the United States and China, if it happens too late, you run the risk of missing your key export window. And now all of a sudden you are overlapping with the South American harvest, particularly Brazil, where there's a lot of availability flooding the marketplace. And so that would really be detrimental to the profitability of the U.S. soybean industry.
Mike, thanks for the update. Again, Mike Steenhoek, Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition. And thanks, Mike. Well, corn growers' checkoff dollars are driving new research that could open major markets for ethanol in the equipment farmers use every day. Support from the National Corn Growers Association and its state corn grower associations has allowed Clemson University and John Deere to move forward on a cutting-edge Department of Energy project despite federal funding delays. The 3-year effort, titled Development and Demonstration of a Low Greenhouse Gas Emissions Hybrid Power Module for Off-Road Vehicles, will develop and test hybrid ag vehicles powered by ethanol and ethanol gasoline blends like E85 and E98. The work will culminate in the demonstration of a hybrid sprayer designed to reduce total cost of ownership by more than 10% while increasing functionality and lowering greenhouse gas emissions compared to today's diesel machines. What does it mean for farmers? New demand for corn through expanded ethanol markets, lower operating costs for farmers via hybrid technology, and cleaner U.S.-grown fuel powering equipment in the field. Research is slated to begin this fall. NCGA will continue to provide updates as it progresses. Back with more after this.
Get ready for the 63rd Annual Farm Science Review, September 16th through the 18th near London, Ohio. Explore hundreds of exhibits, field demonstrations, and educational sessions. Get pre-sale discounted tickets at participating OSU Extension offices, agribusinesses, or online at fsr.osu.edu. Plan your trip with the digital directory and mobile app, and follow Farm Science Review on social media. Don't miss the 63rd Farm Science Review, September 16th through the 18th.
Biodiesel isn't just a fuel, it's a game changer for your engine, your wallet, and your farm. Cleaner burning and efficient, biodiesel enhances engine life, power, and fuel economy. Plus, it delivers real value, adding $1.33 to every bushel of soybeans grown. That's 13% more value per bushel, directly tied to the biofuels market. Ready to turn soybeans into power and drive with purpose? Learn how at soyohio.org.
From Greg Dodd, President and CEO of the National Milk Producers Federation, he says few topics have gained as much discussion in agriculture in the second administration as the Make America Healthy Again initiative, which this past month sent its report on food and agriculture to the president. MAHA is many things, and for dairy, it offers opportunities for policies that better align with what nutrition scientists and families already know, that dairy boosts public health and its consumption should be encouraged. But it could be a double-edged sword for both farmers and consumers, which is why, as MAHA evolves, dairy needs to be ready to support good ideas and educate both policymakers and consumers in ways that benefit everyone it serves. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. For marketing information on your beans to LDC, call 574-566-2113. For now, for our analysis, here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished the Tuesday session largely lower, double-digit losses in soybeans and wheat, both Chicago and Kansas City. Corn was down, flirted with unchanged for a little bit, but just really couldn't get much going. Corn export demand is relatively strong. That's the reason why corn did what it did. Toward the end, we did see some new highs made for the day. Meanwhile, soybeans shed their risk premium pretty much throughout the entire trading session. And wheat markets yesterday were looking at a very large southern hemisphere potential. We're talking Australia. When's the last time we talked Australian wheat on this program? It's been quite a while. That's how long it's been since they really mattered overall. However, most of the work yesterday was in soybean calendar spreads. They paced the decline. Optimism surrounding a U.S.-China trade deal progression has faded. No fresh input from meetings this past week. This is partially being compounded by weakness in the U.S. financial markets that we saw coming out of the long three-day holiday weekend and rising bond prices. Certainly, favorable weather is threatening the price side of things. Uncertainty is surrounding the impact of August dryness in the eastern Midwest. I talked with a farmer just yesterday that says he thinks he's going to try and start his earliest beans on Thursday. Doesn't have a good feeling about them because it was so dry during August. But again, those talking points are relatively few and far between. Looking at the crop ratings that came out yesterday, it kind of signals there was a little bit of dryness concern, but nothing that makes anybody think USDA is going to pull off of the big crop numbers that they had been talking up to this point. Corn export disappearance was quite solid. Export inspections for the week ending August 28th totaled 55 million bushels versus 53 the previous week. 38 million the same week a year ago. Soybean inspections ending the week of the 28th, 17 million bushels versus 14 the previous week. Wheat inspections robust at 29 million bushels. For the crop years to date, the corn number is almost 30% higher year on year. Beans are up 11% and wheat up 15%. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. We'll have overnight figures after this.
Whether you're in the fields or on the farm, creating a safer work environment has never been easier. BWC's safety consulting services are included with your policy premiums and offer training and education for everyone in your farming operation. It's always the right time to make safety a priority. Visit bwc.ohio.gov or call 1-800-644-6292. The Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, here to help you work safely.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals. Your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
Today's market's brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Overnight at the open, September corn up a half at 403.5. December unchanged at 423. September beans unchanged at 1025 3/4. November up 3 1/4 at 1044 1/4 cents. September wheat unchanged at 513, while December is up a half at 528 3/4. October cattle closed down 12 at 239.52. October lean hogs up 52 at 95.55. And October feeder cattle down 77 at 363.70. This is the Ohio AgNet.